Hello and welcome back. This is once again your favorite deputy of MovieDeputy.com. Or I still find myself doing that in MovieDeputy.com. Well, guess what? MovieDeputy.com does still exist, but the reviews don't go up there anymore. So, Movie Deputy reviews. I've been doing this 11 years, and only 3 of which have been Movie Deputy reviews instead of MovieDeputy.com. So you'd think I would get the hang of that. But back to the movie. We are talking about Final Destination 3 today. Now, you may be thinking, okay, why are we talking about Final Destination 3? Well, that's because we are talking about the Final Destination movies today in order that they were released. And so we are up to number 3. As of course, these movies got a guilty rating, for obvious reasons. And these ones, their scores they're not too different from one another. And honestly, the score of Final Destination 3 is the exact same as the score of Final Destination 2. Does that mean that the stories are the same? Not in the least. Does that mean there's a lot of death? Absolutely. Does that mean that there are those that will cheat death? They'll try. And like I kind of hinted to last time, and like I said, no spoilers ever here on Deputies, you don't got to worry about that. But they did find a way to beat death. Now, who was able to do so, and do we see them again? Well, that I'm just going to leave you hanging because I have to leave a little bit of mystery. I can't give too much away of these stories. But as much as Final Destination 2 basically traumatized anybody who's ever driven or been a passenger in a vehicle and seen a log truck, Final Destination 3 will do that to you with roller coasters and tanning beds. So, if you have ever had a fear of like being on a roller coaster and flying off the tracks to your untimely and really gruesome death, or you've ever had a fear of getting trapped in a tanning bed. Now, that may not seem so bad, but I'm repicturing the scene in my head. It's not pretty. So I always warn people with a sensitive stomach or people who are sensitive to blood and gore that these movies are not going to be for you. And that being said, there's actually a twist to Final Destination 3. It is the only one of the 6 movies that a lot of the things that are happening on screen are loosely based on true stories. So that is kind of a little bit of tidbit information that some might find entertaining and others might just find a bit troubling. But yeah, the things that are happening on screen are loosely based on things that actually happened in real life. These movies are intense. They're meant for jump scares and just grossing you out. And they do succeed at that. But there are some errors. You really expect them not to in stories such as this. But in this one, you've got a bunch of seniors. They're getting ready to graduate, kind of like in that same time frame, like from Final Destination 1, where they're in their senior year and they're getting just ready in one like last big hoopla. And so they're going to the local carnival. Now, as you know, like local carnivals maybe are not the best for safety anyways, as they're like those traveling carnivals. It's not like the safety standards that they typically have like for full amusement parks. And so there's already that level of just uncertainty and dread a little bit. But you step that up a bit and they start to realize that not only did this person that had the premonition this time, not only did they see it, but for the first time it's captured in a form that has not been captured before. And it's kind of progressing, kind of as technology is progressing. And it's done so in a way that just kind of makes you go, just like, is technology advancing too quickly? Mind you, this is way back in 2006. So this is still 19 years ago when this one came out. And it's kind of ironic that the name of the coaster in this movie is The Devil's Flight. So, like I said, that's kind of an ironic thing, but like I said, the kids are getting ready for graduation and this whole series of events happens, and then it's the whole thing with survivor's guilt. This is really the first one that we've really seen, I mean, Final Destination 1 and 2 touch on it a little bit, but there's a little bit of survivor's guilt that it touches a little bit more on that in this one. So it tries to advance the story maybe a little bit more in that way. And like I said, it doesn't really, they're not going to see anything necessarily new in this one. You're going to see some really creative deaths and really, I mean, just unusual ways to die. Or as like that audio that's online is dumb ways to die. So many dumb ways to die. That's basically these movies in a heartbeat. I mean, that really does capture everything that's in these movies as dumb ways to die. So, but they're entertaining. They're fun. And like I said, if you did catch on, I mentioned that the movie got the same rating as Final Destination 2. So I did give this a 5.25 out of 10 on the deputy scale. Just kind of for the same reasons. I mean, there's some holes in the story. There's a few errors. And I mean, it's cheesy. If you're expecting realism, gross out effects, I guess these are not going to necessarily be your cup of tea. But if you are into the whole thriller suspense genre with the jump scares, and this one kind of does a little bit more of where they play things up like they're going to happen and then something else happens. And so it kind of keeps you, in areas where the story is a little bit weaker, it kind of puts that back in there just to kind of keep the story going, because it's like you're realizing it's not as predictable as it seems. Now, okay, these are the Final Destination movies. So you know the majority of these people are going to die, but who dies and how they die and in what order that they die might surprise you, because what seems really cut and dry, the way that most of these are starting to play out, there's a few things in this one that you don't necessarily realize until it's playing out on screen. So if you're a fan of these movies, I hope you come back again tomorrow as we are talking about The Final Destination, which is also known as Final Destination 4. So we are halfway through now, and I will be back tomorrow with that one for you. Till then, bye-bye.